Just in our chat this morning, we were doing a test out with Zoom, and there was the question asked about whether anyone can create a fire scar map of wet season burning that's happened across over the last wet season, and I've just quickly put together a couple of maps here so you can see some of the wet season burning that's happened. Unfortunately, with the scale of mapping that NAFI picks up with the MODIS imagery, the MODIS data that is picked up, it's a bit restrictive. So with the nature of wet season burning, because there is a lot of fuel that's left behind, and with the low intensity, the MODIS imagery doesn't pick up a lot of the wet season burn. So this map that you can see here, this is just the months over December 2019 to February 2020. But you can see that there is a bit of wet season burning happening, but I would imagine that this isn't picking up the full amount of fire that's happening over that period, because, as I said, the low intensity of the fires, and with a lot of the remaining vegetation left behind, the MODIS program that is running behind NAFI is not really picking up a lot of the fire scars, and you need to go to a lot more detailed imagery using things like Landsat or Sentinel imagery, and those technologies are advancing. But so there's this slide here, and there was another slide as well, which also includes you can see the March to June 2019 fire scars in the red, and a lot of those would have been prescribed burns that we all have been doing for our early dry season burning programs. And then, even though some of the wetter floodplain areas, they still might have a few program burns that happen in July. Usually that's getting to the point where things are too hot and not self-extinguishing overnight, and then the remainder of that through to November is very likely to be uncontrolled wildfire or unplanned fires, and then you can see that the contrast of that, the wet season burns in the orange, yellow and green, they barely stand up against the background of dry season fire. So that map's just generally showing that there is a hell of a lot of dry season fire still happening. It'd be great to be able to replace that with wet season burning, but anyway, it'd also be good to have better imagery to bring into that as well, that picks up the wet season burning a bit better, because there's limitations with the MODIS satellite data behind NAFI fire scar mapping.
Yeah, okay, so thanks, Sam. That's interesting to hear, to see those maps contrasting the wet season versus the dry season burning. I guess none of us would be surprised to see the prominence of dry season burning over wet season. I actually think it's interesting to just see how much wet season burning there is, and taken that's actually, from what you're saying of the imagery involved, and that's actually a significant understatement. And I guess that's been alluded to in a couple of people speaking today about patch size of wet season burns, that less intense and much smaller patches, which from one of the, I guess I started off the discussion today talking a bit about fire regime, and clearly patch size is one of the really big challenges that I think we face in terms of fire management in the top end, and the scale of the dry season fires.